For centuries, the concept of a broken heart was reserved for poets, playwrights, and songwriters. It was seen as a sentimental metaphor for a purely psychological affliction, a heavy soul, or a bruised ego.
I have to make a choice,
However, in the
and I
last
choose
2
to stand,
decades, the
no matter
marriage
what
of
comes.
neurobiology, endocrinology, and cardiology has revealed a much more harrowing reality. Heartbreak is a
You have to
systemic
believe me.
physiological crisis.
How can I?
When a
Because I
significant
love you.
romantic bond
I
is
want
severed,
to.
the human body does not just feel sad, it enters a state of emergency. Every system, from the neurons firing in the prefrontal cortex to the white blood cells circulating in our veins, undergoes a violent recalibration. To understand why heartbreak hurts like hell, we must look at the body as a biological machine that has suddenly lost its primary source of fuel and regulation. Neurochemical collapse, the brain in acute withdrawal. At its core, the biology of love is the biology of addiction. From a neurochemical perspective, a person in love is a person with a steady supply of a powerful endogenous drug cocktail. The dopamine reward loop and the hungry brain. When we are in love, the ventral tegmental area, VTA, and the nucleus accumbens, the brain's primary reward centers, are hyperactive. These areas are flooded with dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with craving, motivation, and pleasure. This is the same circuit that is activated by cocaine, nicotine, or gambling. When a breakup occurs, the supply is cut off, but the brain's demand remains. Functional MRI studies by Dr. Helen Fisher have found that looking at a photo of an ex-partner activates the VTA even more intensely than during the relationship. This is known as frustration attraction. The brain, sensing the loss of the reward, ramps up the dopamine signal to motivate the individual to find and retrieve the lost partner. This creates a biological compulsion, an obsessive, frantic need to check social media or reach out. It is not a lack of willpower. It is a brain starving for its chemical fix. Simultaneously, levels of serotonin, the stabilizer of mood and impulse control, drop precipitously. This drop is a mirror image of the chemistry found in patients with obsessive-compulsive disorder. This explains the mental loops of heartbreak, the inability to stop ruminating on what went wrong or replaying specific memories for the 1,000th time. Furthermore, the sudden withdrawal of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, and vasopressin, the commitment hormone, leaves the brain feeling vulnerable. Oxytocin normally acts as a natural buffer against stress and anxiety. Without it, the amygdala, the brain's fear center, becomes hyper-responsive. The world feels sharper, louder, and more threatening because the natural safety chemical has been drained from the system. The neural overlap, why emotional pain feels physical. One of the most profound discoveries in social neuroscience is that the brain does not possess a separate system for emotional pain. Instead, it piggybacks on the neural architecture used for physical injury. When you break a bone or burn your hand, your somatosensory cortex tells you where it hurts, but your anterior cingulate cortex, ACC, tells you how much it bothers you. The ACC is the center of the unpleasantness of pain. fMRI scans show that during a breakup, the ACC is hyperactive. Because the brain uses the same pathways for a physical burn and a social rejection, the sensation is interpreted by the body as an actual wound. This is why we feel a stabbing or crushing sensation in the chest. Interestingly, studies at the University of Kentucky found that participants who took acetaminophen, Tylenol, daily reported fewer hurt feelings and less neural activity in the ACC compared to a placebo group. The brain literally cannot tell the difference between a broken heart and a broken arm. The endocrine storm, cortisol and the stress response. The moment a breakup is finalized, the brain's alarm center, the amygdala, triggers the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. This is the body's fight or flight command center. The body begins to pump out massive quantities of cortisol and adrenaline. In a short-term crisis, like escaping a predator, this is life-saving. In heartbreak, where the threat is internal and persistent, the cortisol tap stays open. This leads to a cascade of physical symptoms. Muscular constriction. Excess cortisol causes muscles to constrict and stay tense. This leads to the characteristic back pain, neck stiffness, and tension headaches associated with grief. Metabolic shift. Cortisol diverts blood away from the digestive system to the large muscles, preparing the body to run. This results in heartbreak nausea, a total loss of appetite, or irritable bowel symptoms. The body effectively shuts down unnecessary functions like digestion to focus on the perceived threat of abandonment. Insulin resistance. Prolonged cortisol elevation can cause temporary spikes in blood sugar, leading to stress-eating cravings or, conversely, a complete inability to process nutrients efficiently.
The vagus nerve and the heart-gut connection. The vagus nerve is the longest nerve of the autonomic nervous system, traveling from the brainstem down to the heart, lungs, and digestive tract. It is the primary mediator of the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest. During heartbreak, the vagus nerve becomes overstimulated or dysregulated. This can lead to globus pharyngeus. This is the clinical term for the lump in the throat. It is caused by the autonomic nervous system causing the muscles in the throat to constrict while you are trying to swallow or breathe. Heart rate variability, HRV, changes. The heart's rhythm becomes irregular and less adaptable. A healthy heart has high variability. A heartbroken heart often shows a rigid, stressed rhythm. Chest constriction. The intercostal muscles between the ribs tighten, making it feel like there is a heavy weight sitting on the sternum.
The genetics of loneliness, epigenetic consequences. Heartbreak goes deeper than the organs. It reaches our very DNA. Research in the field of social genomics has found that social rejection and the resulting perceived isolation change how our genes are expressed. The conserved transcriptional response to adversity, CTRA, is a specific pattern of gene expression. When we are heartbroken and feel alone, our bodies upregulate pro-inflammatory genes, preparing the body for physical injury or bacterial infection as if we were a lone animal vulnerable to attack, and downregulate antiviral genes, reducing our defense against viruses like the flu or common cold. This is why heartbreak is often followed by physical illness. The body is so busy managing the inflammation of emotional trauma that it leaves the gates open for pathogens. Chronic inflammation from a long, painful breakup is also linked to long-term issues like cardiovascular disease and accelerated cellular aging, shortening of the telomeres. The evolutionary mismatch, why nature is so cruel. Why would evolution allow us to feel such debilitating pain? From a Darwinian perspective, social bonds are the secret sauce of human survival. For 99% of human history, being cast out of a group or losing a mate was a death sentence. Our ancestors who felt the most pain upon being rejected were the ones most motivated to fix their relationships or stay within the protection of the tribe. Those who didn't care about rejection wandered off alone and were eaten by predators or died of exposure. We are the descendants of the hypersensitive. However, the problem is that our modern world of ghosting, dating apps, and digital rejection happens at a scale and frequency our primitive brains weren't designed to handle. We are experiencing Stone Age biological reactions to 21st century social dynamics. The path to biological healing, neuroplasticity. If heartbreak is a biological injury, then recovery is a biological process of neuroplasticity. The brain must prune the neural pathways associated with the ex-partner and build new ones. This is not just moving on, it is a literal rewiring of the brain. The no contact rule. This is not about pride, it is about starving the dopamine addiction. Every time you see a photo or receive a text, you trigger a dopamine spike that resets the withdrawal clock. Total abstinence is required to allow the reward centers to downregulate. Physical movement. High-intensity exercise helps metabolize stuck cortisol and adrenaline, forcing the body out of the fight or flight loop and into a state of physical exhaustion that promotes deeper sleep. Social buffering. Direct eye contact and physical touch, hugs, from friends release small amounts of oxytocin. This acts as a fire extinguisher for the amygdala's stress response, signaling to the brain that even if one bond is broken, the tribe is still there to protect you. Novelty. Engaging in new activities, learning a language, traveling, a new hobby, forces the brain to create new neural maps, which helps overwrite the old maps that are dominated by memories of the ex. The next time you or someone you know is suffering from a broken heart, remember that what is happening is not all in the head. It is in the blood, the nerves, the heart, and the DNA. Heartbreak hurts like hell because it is the body's most desperate survival signal. You aren't weak for being unable to function. Your body is busy managing a massive neurochemical withdrawal and a systemic endocrine storm. You are a biological organism in a state of repair. And just as the body knows how to knit a bone back together, it possesses an ancient, resilient architecture designed to survive even the most devastating loss.